Shalom, Israel. Grace and mercy from God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, be unto you. All praises to the Most High that we made it another week to another Sabbath day. And of course, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father. I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, and I do so by His Holy Ghost. That's the only way we could speak the word, is if He gives His Spirit. And you know, we could give the understanding thereof. So, with all of that, I do just want to check and make sure everything's functioning properly. Because as y'all see, I got my studio mic in here. This one's a little bit stronger than this other mic that I have been using, that I've been hooking up to the camera. This one I had to hook up separately, not for the camera. And it's not really designed for conversation, right? But I do use it whenever I do the pre-recorded videos. So Lord's will, this will sound a little bit better this week than it has been sounding. Though you may hear extra ambient noise because this mic is a lot stronger than this mic. So let me just check and make sure, like I said, everything's functioning properly. I'm gonna check the YouTube. As long as it's good for y'all, we should be all right. Let me check on my end, see if I am streaming. It appears that I am. So praise the Most High for that. Or actually, let me go here. Like I said, it appears I am live. So let me just, so it appears there's video and audio and whatnot. Let me check and make sure. How we looking? Like I said, it appears I am live. So let me just, so it appears there's video and audio and whatnot. Praise the Most High. So, I'm just going to set this down, make sure that there should be audio on Facebook as well, if there is on YouTube. How we doing? Right. Let me check on my end, see if I am streaming it. Okay, so all praise to the Most High. It seems like we're looking all right. I'll go ahead and bring this down because I may forget if I don't, just like I did this past week learning the word. But yeah, so that's about fine right there. So, news stories that I'm not going to touch on this week. I seen they finally got the Clintons in for depositions. So I say they got them in. They went to them privately for whatever reason, as opposed to bringing them in front of Congress and putting it on C-SPAN. They did get, from what I read, they have recording, audio and video from the deposition, but they didn't want to broadcast it, for whatever reason. That seems to be a dog and pony show there. It seems to be, just because people have demanded it. I don't know if it's genuine. They could have perjured themselves. I don't know. Like I said, they didn't broadcast it, so we only got little snippets of quotes here and there. They haven't put out any kind of video of it, any audio of it, concerning the Epstein allegations, of course. But what else? Pakistan and Afghanistan are popping off. I'd seen that. They have conflict. I haven't really dived into it. I haven't really seen anything concerning that. Just that it happened. What else? Trump has got beef with Anthropic. I don't know specifically what's going on there, but that's something I'd seen. The main thing that I'm going to talk about this week is what happened in Mexico, what's going on in Mexico, and as far as last week's lesson, there was nothing salvageable. There was the audio cut out about 4 minutes in, and there's nothing. Like I said, there's nothing salvageable. But Lord's will, I'll do that lesson again at some point because it's kind of an evergreen type lesson. It was about the love of oneself, starting with the love of God, and then after you love yourself, you can love others as well. And you can't love others properly until you love yourself. So that's an evergreen lesson. It's something worth getting into. But I just did it last week, so I don't want to do it again this week. I'll touch it up. And I might bring it next week or the week after. But is there anything else? Anything else that was news worth talking about? U.S. Iran seems like it might be going forward. I'm not quite sure, but that seems to be escalating, or at least there is no conclusion on the peace talks. So, but without any more stalling, I'll get right into this first first topic that I want to touch on, and that's the lunar eclipse, the lunar eclipse coming. Lunar eclipse, also known as blood moon. It says a total lunar eclipse will turn the moon blood red on Tuesday across several continents, right? So it's not even just, usually eclipses will pass through one area or one country or a couple countries or one continent. But it said several continents will see this blood moon, all right, Tuesday. A blood red moon will soon grace the skies for a total lunar eclipse, and there won't be another until late 2028. As in, there'll be another one in 2 years, right? Or 2.5 years. These things used to be like once every decade, maybe a couple or a few every century, right? These things didn't used to be every other year, but that's what they are now. They're every other year. These blood moons, these solar eclipses, these signs in the heavens, all right, are like every other year now. Because I think the last solar eclipse was like what? Or even the last blood moon wasn't too long ago. It was like a couple years ago, all right? The spectacle will be visible Tuesday morning from North America, right? So keep an eye out for that Tuesday morning. Central America and western part of South America. Australia and Eastern Asia can catch it Tuesday night, right? So that's like the same. That's just around the same time period. Or actually, excuse me. Yeah. Because they're ahead of us by several hours. All right. So that Tuesday night is the same as our Tuesday morning. All right. Partial stages of the eclipse with small bites taken out of the moon can be seen from Central Asia and much of South America. Africa and Europe will be shut out, right? So Africa and Europe are the only continents, I guess Antarctica as well, only continents not being able to see it. Unless parts of Antarctica can see it as well, and they just didn't mention that. Solar and lunar eclipses happen due to a precise alignment of the sun, moon, and earth. There are between 4 and 7 a year, according to NASA. Which the whole NASA agency is, be skeptical of what they say. I'm just gonna say that their founding was from the bad guys in World War II coming over to America, Project Paperclip. That's where NASA comes from. All right, the bad guy in the bad guys in World War II, changed this S and an A to a Z and an I. That's who I'm talking about. All right, that's who founded NASA. Anyway, the eclipses tend to follow each other, taking advantage of the sweet spot in the celestial body's orbits. Tuesday's total eclipse of the moon comes 2 weeks after a ring of fire solar eclipse that dazzled people and penguins in Antarctica. All right, so apparently they did mention Antarctica, but they said it was a solar eclipse. During a total lunar eclipse, the Earth is between the sun and full moon, casting a shadow that covers the moon. All right, and this blood moon will actually start the new year of this Hebrew year. All right, according to the Hebrew calendar, the new year starts in spring. All right, and this Monday night going into Tuesday, that'll be the new year. All right. The so-called blood moon looks red because of stray bits of sunlight filtering through Earth's atmosphere. The show unfolds over several hours, with totality lasting about an hour. Compared to a solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse is a little more of a relaxed pace, said Catherine Miller at Middlebury College's Middleman Observatory. For those in the path, there's no need for any special equipment to observe. Just a clear, cloudless view of the sky, which I don't necessarily think we're going to be getting Monday and Tuesday. We might not be able to see it. We might be full of rain. Use a forecasting app or any online celestial calendar to look up the exact timing for your area. Venture outside a few times to see Earth's shadow darken the moon, eventually revealing the reddish-orange orb. Yeah, so in the morning, when the moon is at its full, and you see it in the morning, it's usually a yellow-orange as it's setting. But, at this point, it would be a reddish-orange, evidently. if it's a blood moon, right? As we see here, a blood moon is like reddish orange. You don't have to be out there the whole time to see the shadows moving. Said astronomer Bennett Maruka with the University of Delaware. There's a partial lunar eclipse on the docket for August, visible across the Americas, Europe, Africa, and West Asia. Right, so it said there's a partial one later this year as well. All right, so just wanted to point that out because that fulfills prophecy. All right, here in Joel 2, we'll go ahead and read this real quick in Joel 2. And I'll start with 27, just to get some context. I'll start with 27. It says, "And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else." Right? He's no other God, and he's no other people's God. Right? He never chose anybody besides the Israelites. "And my people shall never be ashamed." Right? So you read Isaiah 14, and even in the last days, he said, "I will yet choose Israel." Right? You read Revelation 7, which we may get into later tonight. It talks about the Israelites coming back to the commandments of God. All right, 144,000 male leaders to be exact. "And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions." Right. So he said about his chosen, hey, y'all are going to get visions, right? You're going to prophesy. You're going to see things, right? You're going to have revelation. You're going to dream dreams. And also, upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit, right? So he said, it doesn't matter your class, all right? As far as your wealth, you're going to get visions and apparitions and dreams in those days. You're going to see signs. "And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke." Right? So he said, look, we're going to see signs. We're going to see signs in the last days. We're going to see wonders in the heavens, meaning in the sky, and in the earth, right? And on the ground. All right, we're going to see wonders. We're going to see things in these last days that we've never seen before, as far as like the earth has never seen historically. All right. "The sun shall be turned into darkness," right? That's what happened with the solar eclipse. All right. There was one across America, like 2024, I want to say. That was the last big one that happened across America. "And the moon into blood," right? So that's what's coming next week. All right. That lunar eclipse. All right. So it was prophesied, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come, right? It's going to be great for some because of the deliverance, and it's going to be terrible for others, all right, because of the judgment, all right? But the Most High specifically said there would be wonders in the heavens in the last days, and there would be more eclipses, right? There would be more signs coming than there ever had been before, all right? And we see that going on now. "And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord had said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call." Right? So that remnant is going to be delivered here in the last days, the remnant of God's people that are scattered throughout the earth. And you read about when it says, in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance. You read about that in Revelation 14. All right, it talks about that 144,000 coming to Mount Zion, all right, with that great multitude, all right. Christ, of course, the one doing the deliverance. He sends his angels across the earth to deliver his elect, as he said in Matthew 24, all right. So just to show in the Old and New Testament, the prophets prophesied about the same things, all right. And Revelation chapter 6, and what do I want to start with? What verse do I want to start with? 14, thereabout. Let's see. 12, I'll start with verse 12. It says, "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo," this is the seal that we're in now, by the way. We're in the sixth seal. All right. When you read about the seals, the vials, the trumpets, it's all describing historical events. It's all describing what has happened in history from ancient times, even before Christ's birth, all the way up until now. All right. In the time of the apostles and of Jesus Christ, I believe they were in the second seal. I have to go back through the seals and let you know. I believe it was the second one. What was the second? The red? Yeah, the war. Another horse that was red. Yeah, they were in the second seal when the Romans took power. When John was writing this, they were in the second seal. All right. It said, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal. This is where we're at now. And lo, there was a great earthquake. Right. So that earthquake, I couldn't tell you specifically when it was. Maybe the earthquake of 1812. Maybe it was a different earthquake, but there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. Again, this is what we read in Joel 2. Right? There would be blackness in the sun. And the moon became as blood. Right? So lunar eclipse. All right? These are more prevalent now than they've ever been. These eclipses. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. All right, so this is talking about, this is still future prophecy. Like I said, we're still in the sixth seal, so all this hasn't happened yet. The stars of heaven fell into the earth. This is going into like all them satellites that they have, all the space junk. If you've never heard of space junk, look into it. Like, because when when the satellites, especially if you talk about before the 2020s, before the 2010s, when satellites were like revolving around the earth, if they crashed into one another or if they broke, nobody went and got them. They just stayed up there. Right. So there's a lot of, I think there may be a couple companies that are, or a couple departments or whatever that are working on getting some of that space junk down. But most of the space junk that's up there, these dead satellites or these broken satellites, or these fragments that have fell off of these satellites that have crashed into one another and just shattered into pieces, all that's still up there. All right. So you need to look into space junk, because if you look into just in general, like all the different satellites that are up there and all the space junk that is up there, it's insane. All right. It's it's like pretty much and the earth is so massive that you may not be able to see it like from space. You may have to like actually get close to the stuff if you're like way past that layer of satellites. I don't know, but I haven't been up there. I can't tell you that. But just looking at how much stuff is up there, it's insane. It's insane how much stuff is actually up there, just floating around. Like I said, some stuff it crashes into each other. All that's coming down though. That's the point. The stars of heaven fell into the earth. When John is writing this, he don't have the word satellite. He don't know that word satellite. All right, but he's seeing the vision of what's happening. He's like, oh, the stars are coming down, right? Because it's fallen out of heaven to the earth. All right, so all of this, again, talking about the satellites, the space junk coming down. Christ, when he comes, he's going to bring all that down. All that, like, that's not remaining in space. Like the ISS, that's not just going to stay there when Christ comes. He's bringing all that down. All right. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. All right. So when it says the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. Right. So that's the imagery. Right. I don't have like a scroll or anything like that, but I'll take this sheet of paper and just give you an example, right? Because a scroll, when it's unrolled, looks like this, right? Or this is a better demonstration. But when it rolls together, like that's what it looks like when it rolls together, right? Like that right there, all right? And I did a terrible job rolling, but y'all get my point. Like when it rolls together. All right. That's what it looks like when it rolls. It goes out here and then it rolls up. All right. This is talking about a mushroom cloud is what this is talking about. All right. Let me just look up a mushroom cloud GIF real quick. Mushroom cloud GIF. All right. Or GIF, however you want to pronounce it. But that's what this is talking about here. And if it would just show any of them, I might have to click on it for it to show it. But you should be able to see it without me clicking on it, because it'll do that sometimes. Maybe not. Might have to click on it. Y'all forgive me. Let's see. Let's look at this one. I want to make sure y'all can see this. So you see how it looks like it's being like a scroll when it's being rolled together? All right, it's being rolled up. All right. Let's look at this one. I'm hoping y'all can see this because I know my camera's right here. But you see how it's like being rolled up together. All right. So that's the key word here. When it is rolled together. All right. It's not like it's rolling out. It's like when it's rolled together. All right. And every mountain and island were moved out of their place, right? Because when that nuke hits, it shakes, right? It shakes the land, all right? And the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains, right, the military men, and the mighty men, military men, and every bondman and every free man, all right? So everybody hid themselves in the dens, right? Those dens is what we now call bunkers, all right? And in the rocks of the mountains, like Cheyenne Mountain. I think it's out in Wyoming. I could be mistaken because that's where Cheyenne is. But there's a mountain named Cheyenne Mountain, and there's other mountains that have nuclear shelter facilities. All right, other mountains in the U.S. I mean, because they've been prepping for this for a long time. All right, so you have the rich men buying their bunkers, right, like Mark Zuckerberg did on Hawaii. And you have the, as I said, every bondman, every free man, and like the military men, the chief captains and the mighty men, who are going to facilitate people into these, like Mount Cheyenne and into these other mountain bunkers. All right, they got bunkers in the mountains. And said to the mountains and to the rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. Right? Because Christ, it doesn't matter whether these people get in their bunkers or not. Christ is going to judge the wicked. All right? And he's going to deliver the righteous. So any wicked that's remaining, especially here in the U.S., they're going to get judged. It doesn't matter if you hide in a bunker. All right? He's going to get you out of that bunker and then judge you. Right? As we read a couple weeks ago with Isaiah 66, it says the slain of the Lord shall be many. All right? He's going to kill a lot of people on Judgment Day. It is what it is. All right, verse 17. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Right? Because we've all sinned, and the wages of sin is death. Now, some people are going to be spared, right? His elect, his chosen, the ones that's been following him, doing what he said to do, keeping his commandments, right? He's going to pardon a lot of us who have sinned in the past, but are trying to get it right. All right? But, I mean, the judgment is coming. Right? And so John's seeing the vision of the judgment, and he said, who's going to be able to stand? All right? And the answer to that is none of the wicked. None of the wicked will be able to stand in that day. All right? But anyway, let's get to the main story of the night. And this is what's going on in Mexico. All right? I just want to talk about what's going on in Mexico. Because it's a mess. It is a big mess. What's going on in Mexico right now. And it's been like that as far as like been a big mess for a long time. Since like the 70s, 80s, whenever the CIA started propping this up, started propping up the Contras in Central America, and it all got worse from there. All right. And all this destabilization that the CIA and the U.S. has done in Latin America has only made it worse. All right, they would take out, leaders of the people that the people themselves democratically elected, and instill dictators in certain areas. All right, it's been a big mess in Latin America for a long time, but especially from Colombia up to the Texas-Mexico border. All right, and here recently, this past week, Mencho, this cartel kingpin got put to death, and that stirred up a big Hydra situation, as we're about to read, and it's really just caused a lot more violence down there than there has been here recently. All right, but this first article, it says Trump claims U.S. is to credit for killing of El Mencho, as Mexico emphasizes there were no American boots on the ground, and Steinbaum has tried to keep American troops out of Mexico, right? That's why she ended up agreeing to take out El Mencho anyway. All right. She said, okay, will that keep y'all from coming down here? All right, so let's do it. All right. Both countries said they cooperated in the operation, but Mexico clarified it was limited to information sharing, right? They only used American intelligence. It wasn't U.S. troops down there that did it. But I guess it's going to say that, like, according to America and Mexico wouldn't have been able to do it without the American intelligence. All right. President Donald Trump claimed during the State of the Union that the U.S. is to credit for the killing of Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, the longtime leader of the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, CJNG. Right, oftentimes just referred to as Jalisco or Jalisco or New Generation Cartel. All right. Trump made the remark when claiming that large parts of Mexico had been controlled by murderous drug cartels, leading him to declare several of them as foreign terrorist organizations. And he's got a point. All right. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins. You saw that yesterday. Trump said during a passage of the address, that was I forget when the State of the Union was, either Tuesday or Wednesday. He didn't explicitly mention the slain drug lord, but the topic has dominated the conversation since Sunday when Mexican forces conducted the operation. Maybe it was Monday when he gave the State of the Union. Trump did not delve into the extent of the U.S.'s involvement, with both countries saying on Sunday that there was cooperation between them. Right, so they both said, hey, look, this was a joint effort. In a press release detailing how the developments unfolded, Mexico's Defense Secretariat said that for the execution of the operation, as well as central military intelligence tasks within the framework of bilateral coordination and cooperation with the U.S., there was complementary information from the country's authorities. All right, so they said, look, there was cooperation on both sides to take him out, and there was information that they give us. The New York Times expanded on the matter, reporting that the CIA provided instrumental information to locate El Mencho. The outlet went on to say that the U.S. has stepped up intelligence sharing with the country and pressuring it to act on it. Right? So the U.S. is basically like, hey, here's El Mencho. He's not defenseless, but here's an opportunity for y'all to take him out. If y'all don't take this opportunity, we will. And so Steinbaum, the current president of Mexico, was like, okay, we'll do it. Don't send your troops down here. General Ricardo Tavilla Trejo explained that Mexican forces managed to locate El Mencho after tracking down a lover of his. He said that military intelligence managed to locate a man close to one of El Mencho's lovers, allowing them to determine his location. Once the person left the premise, officers confirmed that El Mencho stayed there. Forces then moved on to detain him, engaging in a shootout with cartel operatives there. Trejo noted that El Mencho tried to escape while leaving a group of operatives behind to slow down government forces. He made it to a nearby wood, but forces pinned him down and wounded him. El Mencho was taken to a helicopter heading to Mexico City, but he died on the way. Oseguera Cervantes rose from local criminal networks into the top tier of Mexico's underworld, becoming the face of CJNG's rapid expansion. The cartel emerged after fractures in earlier organizations and over time built a reputation for combining sophisticated trafficking with aggressive territorial violence as well as diversification into other illicit businesses. All right, and we're not going to get into this article, but as you can see down here, it says that he wasn't able to constantly change locations because he had a late-stage kidney disease, right? So while he was weakened, the CIA gives some kind of intelligence information. Maybe it was that he was laying low because of his kidney disease and he's not moving around so much. And then the Mexican forces actually located where he was at. I don't know exactly the details of the intelligence given or shared between both parties, but everybody's saying that it was information shared between both parties that led to the assassination or the killing, however you want to say it. But so this other article says cartel expert warns of Hydra effect after El Mencho's death. Cut off one head and another grows. And this is exactly, I was talking with a friend earlier this week about this, and I specifically used the word Hydra. right? Like it's a big mess because it's like a hydra. One head goes down and a few more grows, right? Without structural efforts to combat corruption, added investigative journalist Antonio Nieto, there will be no evident change for ordinary people. All right, so it says the killing of the New Generation cartel leader Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, has triggered immediate violence and raised concerns of a prolonged internal conflict, with one cartel expert warning of a hydra effect in which removing a leader only generates new threats. And that seems to be the case, at least with what's happened so far down there. In an interview with Spanish organization COPE, investigative journalist Antonio Nieto said the aftermath of El Mencho's death could resemble an infinite war where you cut off one head and new ones grow. Without structural efforts to combat corruption, he added, there will be no evident change for ordinary people. Mexican authorities said Oseguera died after being captured in a federal operation in Tapalpa, Jalisco, following intelligence cooperation between Mexico and the U.S. His death prompted immediate retaliation, forcing Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus to activate a code red as cartel members set vehicles ablaze and blocked highways. And I've heard, I believe it was the Young Turks that said this is a method that the cartels use to keep authorities away from wherever they're doing their violence, wherever they're taking over, right? They will set cars and vehicles ablaze and put them in the middle of the road, right? So that blocks any kind of assistance, any kind of emergency vehicles from coming in. Guadalajara, according to Nieto, was temporarily grounded to a halt. The city came to a standstill. There were no open stores, no traffic, no public transportation, Nieto said, adding that in Jalisco, nothing happened without the cartel knowing about it. All right, so there's certain areas in Mexico where the cartels just run everything. And if they want to, they can stop everything. All right. David Mora, senior Mexico analyst at the International Crisis Group, told BBC Mundo on Tuesday that the city felt like a ghost town, underscoring the group's territorial control. He said such retaliation is often an initial response, warning that more destabilizing violence could follow as factions compete for control. Decapitating Jalisco and killing El Mencho can bring effects that run against President Claudia Sheinbaum's goal of pacifying Mexico. Mora said, adding that targeting top leaders has been tried repeatedly over 2 decades, and again, it's been proven it doesn't work as organizations fragment and adapt, right? So what may happen, and this isn't necessarily the case every time, but it's what could happen, is that you have like this Jalisco group, right? This New Generation group. El Mencho was their leader. He gets killed. Now you have some infighting within the cartel of who, takes his place, right? Who is the next El Mencho? Who is the next leader of this Jalisco group? So now you have these 2 different factions warring over who gets to be the new top dog, right? And not only may there be, innocent bystanders get caught in the crossfire, right? Innocent civilians who end up dead because of these, conflicts. But also it could grow into 2 new, bigger, badder major cartel networks, right? So this is just, and again, I believe it was the Young Turks who said, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right, because obviously you don't want these cartels to exist. You don't want them to persist. But, killing the leaders of the cartels doesn't always seem to be the best route. Doesn't always seem to be the best plan of action. Right? In other words, it's a big mess. It's a big mess down there. Right? Nieto outlined 2 possible scenarios: a reduction in violence if the operation results in a negotiated recalibration, or a fractured cartel fighting across the 28 states where it operates. 28 states is this New Generation cartel. It operates across 28 Mexican states. That's crazy. He also warned that transnational criminal networks with ties to Europe and Spain mean the impact may not remain confined to Mexico. All right. So some very scary stuff for Mexican citizens there. And at the end of that article, it mentioned the transnational, international networks of these cartels, right? So I got here from Latin America reports. Says, these two articles were from the Latin Times, as you can see. But it says, what does El Mencho's death mean for Colombia? All right, so specifically for Colombia. As you can see, the reward that was on his head. All right. Last Sunday, Mexican authorities killed the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, Nemesio Seguero Cervantes, alias El Mencho, unleashing a wave of violence in the country. CJNG is one of the world's most sophisticated criminal organizations. Its influence stretching into countries like Colombia, where it sources cocaine to traffic to the U.S. But how significant is the cartel's presence in Colombia, and what impact will El Mencho's killing have in the South American country? Who are the Jalisco New Generation Cartel? The CJNG was born out of a split in the Millennial Cartel around 2011 and has become one of the world's largest illicit manufacturers of synthetic drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine, according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. All right. It has a presence in all 50 U.S. states and 40 countries worldwide, making billions of dollars in profit every year from drug trafficking. The CJNG has earned a reputation for its particularly brutal tactics, according to Inside Crime, an organized crime think tank. Since the cartel took control in Jalisco, reports of homicides, forced disappearances, and mass graves have increased. All right, as well as manufacturing and selling synthetic narcotics, the CJNG is also one of the primary importers of cocaine to the U.S. I guess the difference in the synthetic narcotics and cocaine is that there's actually a coca plant that makes the cocaine, right? And they'll grow that coca plant in, I guess, parts of Venezuela, but mostly in Colombia. And then they manufacture it in Colombia, ship it up through Central America, Mexico, and into the U.S. All right. How active is the cartel in Colombia? Colombia is the world's primary producer of cocaine and is a key source of the drug for Mexican cartels like the CJNG. In recent years, drug supply chains have become increasingly fragmented, with each stage of production and export controlled by different actors. Accordingly, the CJNG's activity in Colombia is complicated. The short answer is that the New Generation or any other Mexican criminal group does not maintain a permanent presence in Colombia, said Henry Scholdiner, an investigator at Inside Crime. He explained that the prevalence of other armed groups in Colombia, namely the National Liberation Army, Guitonist Army of Colombia, and dissidents of the now demobilized Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, FARC guerrillas, makes it hard for Mexican cartels to establish themselves in the country. And I've even seen Vice go down there and talk to like Israelites down there who were growing it and shipping it out, right? People that claim to be in the truth, infringers and everything, all right? Not with any U.S. congregation, but in a, like homegrown South American congregation, down there growing the dang coca plants. Right? And, I don't know if they were shipping it out. They may have been selling it to one of these groups. But, yeah, Vice went down there and talked to these people. Like I said, it's supposed to be Israelites in the truth. They got garments on and everything. Like I said, with the fringes. But they still doing stuff like this. All right? Rather than deploying armed members to guard cocaine labs or directly participate in shipping cocaine to Mexico, its presence is better understood through the role of emissaries, continued Scholdiner. The CJNG sends these business envoys to Colombia to purchase cocaine, which is then transported north to Mexico and the U.S. Right, so basically saying it's a bit complicated in that the New Generation is more of a specifically Mexican cartel, so they don't like run things as a cartel does in Colombia. They don't run things like they do in Mexico, right? They just send. Send out their operatives, send out their traffickers, and then they will get the drugs, bring them back up, and bring them to the U.S. The cartel has alliances with specific Colombian armed groups from which it buys the drug, according to analysts. Those alliances are pretty shifting, said Elizabeth Dickinson, Deputy Director for Latin America as the International Crisis Group. But she added that the CJNG has been known to deal with the Central General Staff, the EMC, AFARC dissident group with a strong presence in Colombia's Amazonian and Pacific regions. How might El Mencho, have I been mispronouncing, or is it El Mencho? No, it's El Mencho. They just got a typo here. How might El Mencho's fall be felt in Colombia? While analysts say El Mencho's death could have knock-on effects down the supply chain in places like Colombia, they play down the extent of these risks, right? It could just be that, the person that comes to power doesn't want to change too much and wants to keep things as is. It could be that they want to change, allegiances and alliances, right? It could be that things start popping off in Colombia because of this, but more than likely, it's just like a Mexico thing, right? I think this is going to be a risk that governments in the Andean region particularly will be watching for if there is a reconfiguration of the market in any way, said Dickinson, noting the possibility for violence if the CJNG's role as a cocaine buyer were to shift. Having said that, I also think we don't want to sort of overblow the risk, she added, saying that the sophisticated nature of the cocaine market means that even if the CJNG stops buying cocaine due to a split or leadership struggle, business will continue as usual, right? Because the U.S. is going to get their cocaine regardless. Schuldiner also noted that a succession contest in the Jalisco cartel does not necessarily mean that the criminal group will stop buying cocaine. While there might be a struggle to figure leadership in Mexico, business is still going to continue. As the future of the CJNG remains unclear, it appears that for now, Colombia has bigger problems at home. As elections rapidly approach, authorities are more concerned by threats posed by domestic criminal organizations than those thousands of miles away, right? So they ain't saying, well, Colombia's good. Colombia ain't got to worry about nothing. They just said, we ain't got to necessarily worry about the CJNG, right? So with all that being said, there may be shockwaves on down through Colombia, but this is mostly a Mexican issue, mostly a problem that's going on in Mexico. All right, concerning these cartels in general, let's get this here in Hosea 4, because we can sit here and say, well, it's the CIA's fault. They started the destabilization. They propped up the drug runners, right? Going back to the Contras, and that's what started all this cartel stuff. Yeah, but nobody was forced to take part in all this. You know what I'm saying? And I say this a lot concerning Esau, concerning the wicked, concerning the CIA, concerning the U.S., that they never really made us sin. They never really forced us into sin. They never really even brought us new sins and said, here, do this. They only ever really exacerbated. They only ever exacerbated what was within us, right? You can't be tempted with things that you're not interested in, right? So, we especially in the Israelite community, there's, they like to blame Esau for a lot, and Esau has done a lot, obviously. Like I just had called them the wicked, right? But they don't make us wicked. It is what it is. If like the cartels, for example, they choose to be wicked, that's them. That's them doing that. You're going to be judged according to your works. Every man, every woman is going to be judged according to their works. You're not going to be judged based on the works that somebody else did, or that somebody made you do. Nobody made you do all this, all right? In Hosea 4, starting with 1. So Hosea specifically is talking about the northern kingdom of Israel, all right? Now, of course, prophetically, you can, say that, well, this is all 12 tribes because we all fell into sin, right? But specifically, I wanted to get Hosea first because Mexico, specifically the tribe of Issachar, but that's a northern kingdom tribe. That is the northern kingdom of Israel. God's people, yes, but look what Hosea, the prophet of the Lord, said about his people. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. So even going back historically to the land of Israel, we were dealing with these same issues then. All right? We were dealing with these same problems then. Not specifically cartels, but evil and violence and wickedness. That's why we got taken out of the land in the first place. All right? So that was before, Esau had any kind of influence on us. So we can't sit here and say that the origin of our sin come from Esau. It doesn't. All right? The origin, the spirit that is on these men to commit this violence as the cartels, that wasn't something given to you by the heathen. That's something that has been within you for generations, spiritually. All right? For centuries, for millennia. All right? By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery. You remember what that first article said? I think it was the first article where it said one of the lovers of El Mencho gave him up because she had connections to another man. Right? All that adultery. All right? That's how they caught him. That's how they caught this killer. Was through adultery. It says they break out. All these sins break out. And blood toucheth blood. There's a shedding of blood. All right? He said blood touches blood. There's a dead body over here, a dead body over here. They're both bleeding out. All right? Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. There's going to be judgment brought to the land. Yet let no man strive, nor reprove another, for thy people are as they that strive with the priest. Right? So he said there ain't even no use in trying to rebuke them. They ain't going to listen. They're stiff-necked, hard-headed. All right? And as Revelation 22, he said, let the filthy be filthy still. Right? Ain't no sense in arguing. All right? If you try to give them the word, if they don't want to hear it, okay. Keep moving. Don't argue with them. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night. And I will destroy thy mother. You see that right there? He said everybody. Everybody's going to feel the judgment. Everybody's going to receive the judgment. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. Right? So he said, look, because y'all left the laws, I will also forget your children. Right? I'm going to bring this judgment. All right? And you're all going to feel the judgment. All right? So from there, yeah, this is all a mess. This is all a huge mess, and this is it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, let's get. There's another thing that I had seen. I was like, oh yeah, what was that scripture that I was reading? And y'all forgive me. There was something that come to mind, but it jumped off my mind. Satan tried to take it from me, but where was it? Particularly brutal tactics. I don't think that was it. Reports of homicides, forced disappearance at mass graves. I may just have to move on. Yeah, y'all forgive me. Yeah, I mean, if the Lord wants me to go to it, he'll bring it back to my attention. But anyway, let's move on. So, as I mentioned earlier, these so-called Mexicans are Israelites, according to the Bible. All right? So, they can repent. A lot of them will repent. But as far as this... as far as these cartels, like, there's no hope in the country of Mexico. It is what it is. It's like you can't save it at this point. Not the country. Some of the people will be saved, but like this, the country is gone essentially. There's nothing that you can do with it. All right. It is what it is. So jump down to Zechariah 13. Now, this may just be talking about Babylon, but the point still remains that it's going to be the remnant, as we read in Joel. It's going to be the remnant that gets delivered. I'll start with verse 7 here in Zechariah 13. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand upon the little ones. Right. So again, the judgment is coming. Right. As we read in Hosea, he said, I will also forget thy children. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Right. So he said, most people is going to get put to death. It is what it is. Most people are going to die in the judgment. Most people are going to die on Judgment Day. All right. That's why the world is so populated now. It's close to 8 billion people. All right. So you think that most people are going to survive? Most people are going to make it through judgment? No, not at all. All right. As Christ said, many are called, but few are chosen. Right. He said, few there be that find life. Broad is the way to destruction. Right. Most people are going to die come Judgment Day. It is what it is. Only the remnant will be spared. Only the remnant will be saved. And I will bring the third part through the fire, right, that nuclear fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. Right? So he said he's going to try that remnant. He's going to reprove them. He's going to correct them. All right. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. All right. So in the fire here, yes, the nuclear fire, but also when it says, I will try them as gold is tried. All right. You read about that in Sirach 2. It's the furnace of adversity. All right. That's how they're tried. That's how the godly man is declared. That's how the godly man makes it through. All right. You have to go through things to be made perfect. All right. You have to go through your trials and tribulations to be perfected. All right. It is what it is. Same thing happened with Job. He had to go through them trials and tribulations so that he could understand more, so that he could understand God. All right. Even though he always kept the commandments, he always feared God, he always did what he was supposed to do, he still needed those trials and tribulations to prove himself. All right. To get him to the point where he could understand God's judgment. He could understand God's ways. All right. So from there, we'll talk about Issachar specifically. We'll talk about Issachar specifically a little bit. Let's get this here in Genesis 49. All right. Yeah, because that is that's the tribe of Issachar out there in Mexico. What the world calls Mexico today. That wasn't always called that, but that's the tribe of Issachar that dwells there. All right. So jumping down in Genesis 49 is where the tribes will be in the last days. Issachar, I'm going to start with verse 14. It says, Issachar is a strong ass couching down between 2 burdens. Right. So you have the burden in the U.S. of becoming a servant, right? Being paid less than everyone else, coming up here illegally in most cases because the U.S. makes it so hard to come here legally. All right. So that's the burden up here. The burden down in Mexico and all the way down to Colombia is that the cartels run things, right, with the cocaine and other drug production. All right. So it's the 2 burdens. And the people are trapped in between. All right. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. Right. So most of them flee up here. Not most people, but most people, if they have the choice, they flee up to the U.S. All right. But most of them want to flee to the U.S. They want to flee Mexico. All right. They become a servant unto tribute. Millions. It has been millions that have fled up to the U.S. and became a servant unto tribute. All right. Even though the land is pleasant, the land of Mexico is beautiful. All right. Very resourceful. All right. Tropical once you get down in the south of Mexico. All right. And the rest was good. They loved siesta. All right. So from there, we can read Deuteronomy 33 because it mentions Zebulun as well in Deuteronomy 33, but I think it's worth mentioning. All right. Um, so Deuteronomy 33, and I'll hop back. I might just hop back to Hosea as well to show the contrast of how it started versus what it ended up being. In Deuteronomy 33, and I'll start with 18. It says, "And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents." All right, so Issachar would stay and Zebulun would go out. "They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and of the treasures hid in the sand." Right, so this is talking about the during the Middle Ages. You had the what later became the Aztecs, but started out as the Toltecs, and I guess the joint civilization that they both had together was the Olmecs. And from the Olmecs, you had the Mayans branch off. That was the Zebulonites, and you had the Toltecs out of the Issachar, right? So Toltec specifically goes back to the people of Tola, all right, or the city of Tulan, right? They named the city of Tulan in Mexico after Tola, the forefather Tola, the firstborn of Issachar. All right, and I'll get that. I should have got that before I come here, but it says there, and when it says there, it's talking about like in the what is now present day Mexico, the Yucatan. All right, that's why I said Issachar, stay in your tents. Zebulun, they lived they're in the Central American states now. All right. Right, but in the Yucatan, it's called the Yucatan because it goes back to the Hebrew word yaktan or jaktan, all right, which means a small dispute. All right, there was a dispute of whether or not the Yucatan belonged to Issachar or Zebulun, right? Not a dispute that actually led to major conflict. That's why it's called a small dispute. That's why it's called Yucatan. All right. But anyway, just proving Tola is the firstborn of Issachar. I believe it's firstborn. I could be mistaken, but I think it's firstborn. There was also a Issacharite judge named Tola, named after the firstborn of Issachar. This is Genesis. I think it's 47. It could be 46. No, so here it is. So this is all the children. No, it is. It is chapter 46. Y'all forgive me. Yeah, so Jacob's journey to Egypt, and then it lists all the children, right? Yeah, those who went to Egypt. Here we go. So jumping down to the part about Issachar, where are we at? Concerning Issachar and his sons. Here we go. Verse 13, and this is Genesis 46 and verse 13. "And the sons of Issachar, Tola is the firstborn." All right, that's where you get the term Toltec from. All right, because they named a city in Mexico, Tulan. They named it after Tola. All right, that's how they become Toltec. All right, the people of Tola or Tulan, and Fuva and Job and Shemron. All right, so from there. So in Deuteronomy 33, remember it said they offer sacrifices of righteousness, right, in the Yucatan originally. All right, but then later, those sacrifices weren't so righteous anymore. All right, Hosea, where's Hosea? Oh, that's Daniel. Y'all forgive me. Daniel, I don't mean to be here. Y'all bear with me. I pressed the wrong thing. Hosea is right after Daniel. Hosea and chapter 8, I believe, when it talks about those sacrifices that the Aztecs and the Maya would make of human sacrifice. All right, they would take the heart out the chest and they would eat it. Right, originally they were sacrificing like goats and sheep and stuff like that. Right, stuff you're supposed to sacrifice, but then it turned into wickedness. All right. So verse 11, it says Ephraim, but Ephraim is just a word that means the northern kingdom, right? It was actually Issachar and Zebulun that fulfilled this thing, because Ephraim had made many altars to sin, altars shall be unto him to sin, right? So those altars that they made, all right, all them temples and whatnot, all them pyramids that you see in like Chichen Itza and whatnot, I have written to him the great things of my law, but they were counted as a strange thing, right? They rejected the commandments, as we read in Hosea 4. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of mine offerings and eat it, right? They would take the heart out of the chest and eat it, right? Human flesh. But the Lord accepted them not, right? So they started out with sacrifices of righteousness, but then they started sacrificing flesh. Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins? They shall return to Egypt, meaning they're going back into slavery. They're going back into captivity. That's exactly what happened with Mexico and Central America. It became New Spain. All right. The Spaniards came over, put them into captivity. For Israel hath forgotten his maker and builded temples. Right. That would be your Chichen Itza. That would be the different ruins down there, what we call ruins. All right. Different pyramids that they got down there. And Judah had multiplied fenced cities, but I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof. Right. So all the civilizations that the Israelites had during the Middle Ages, they all fell. Right. They all fell when God brought the enemies against us. Right. According to Deuteronomy 28. All right. So from there, I do want to get this here in Proverbs. All right. Concerning the cartels. All right, Proverbs 1. And starting with verse 10, it says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Right? If they come to you and say, hey, join, this and that, we'll protect you, and you'll never have to face any police. You'll always be taken care of. We give you all the drugs and the money that you want. Right? Just join us. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Right? Because that's what they do. Right? They'll kill innocent people without cause at any and all times. All right? They don't mind doing that. All right? Let us swallow them up. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil, right? We're going to kill them and take this and that, all right? Take everything they got. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse, right? We'll throw in all the stuff together, and you'll get your portion. You'll get your take of it. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path, right? Don't join them. Don't go with them, all right? For their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood, right? They're killers. They're evil. They're wicked men. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives, right? So you see what happened with El Mencho, right? He got judgment. He got put to death. All right, there's only one way out of those cartels once you join. All right, there have been people leave though. I will say that. I'm not denying that. Some people have left for the truth. I know people who have come out of these cartels and come into the light of the Lord, right? Come to the commandments of God, but they have to flee to do that, right? If you don't refuse their offer, you'll eventually get your judgment. You'll eventually die. All right, you'll get put to death either by people within that cartel or people in a different cartel, or you got the Mexican authorities coming to get you. Right, that's what happened with El Mencho. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. You see that right there. So being greedy of gain, running that cocaine just to get rich off of it. All right, it's to your own detriment. Right, it takes away your own life. All right, because that judgment comes back around. That judgment comes back around. All right. So yeah, let me just get this in Revelation 7, just showing that Issachar will repent. We just need 12,000 righteous men to repent. That's all we need. All right. The Most High said, I can live with that. He said, that's all I need to get my people right. All right. And that is through his mercy. God don't need nothing from us, but y'all know what I'm saying. That's his mercy, is that he's willing to get 12,000 from each tribe to let us be part of his army. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. These are the winds of war. These are the winds of change that it's talking about. All right. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, right? So the winds, obviously, it's not, the wind that blows every day, right? We get breezes every day, but this is the winds that hurt the earth and the sea, right? This war that's coming. Saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. So let me just get the seal of God real quick, if y'all are not familiar. If y'all haven't never seen these lessons before, the seal of God is his law, statutes, and commandments. All right? In Isaiah 8 and 16, all right? Isaiah was a very important prophet. All right? Did a whole 7-part series on the prophet Isaiah, on learning the word. Isaiah 8 and 16, it says, let me get to it. It says, bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. Right? So the followers of Christ were called disciples or students. All right? So when it said, sealed the servants of God in their foreheads, this means his laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? That World War III, Judgment Day, is not coming until the servants of God are keeping his commandments. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Right? So this 144,000 is 12,000 of each tribe. All right? It says the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. 12,000. In the west, and that's what we're talking about because we're talking about Mexico, right? So in the Western Hemisphere, Judah is so-called Black Americans or African Americans. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. That would be the Creek family Indians, or the Seminoles would be the most prominent tribe. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. This would be all the First Nations, except Reuben, of course. But all of what we know as Native Americans or First Nations or the indigenous, all right, of North America. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. That would be your Venezuelans, your Colombians, and Brazilians, all right, Colombia to Uruguay, all right, South Americans. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. This would be everybody from Ecuador down to Argentina, all right, so that would be, who would that be? Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina, right? This would be the descendants of the Incan Empire, all right, is Naphtali. The west and the south is what the scriptures say. Of the tribe of Manasseh were still 12,000. That would be your Cubans here in the west. Of the tribe of Simeon were still 12,000. That would be your so-called Dominicans here in the west. Of the tribe of Levi were still 12,000. That would be your so-called Haitians. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Right? So there you have it. Issachar, at least 12,000 male leaders will rise up according to the prophecy. All right? Keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? Of the tribe of Zebulun were still 12,000. That would be your Central Americans from Guatemala down to Panama, including Belize, Honduras, and there's a couple more that I'm missing. Yeah, I forget all those Central American countries. Y'all forgive me. Of the tribe of Joseph were still 12,000. When it says the tribe of Joseph here, it's actually meaning Ephraim, but Ephraim got the birthright that was supposed to be given to Joseph. So Ephraim, also known as Joseph, right? Same tribe. That would be your Puerto Ricans over here in the west. Of the tribe of Benjamin were still 12,000. That would be your Caribbean, blacks, West Indian, Jamaicans. That would be your tribe of Benjamin. All right. So it's prophesied that all the 12 tribes of Israel are going to rise back up, going to keep the commandments of God. All right. But I do want to get this here in Amos 9. That is something that I want to get before we close it out. Amos 9. I just went to Joel. Y'all forgive me. I've been clicking on the wrong books. Amos 9. This actually, the top of Amos 9 actually ties back into what we were reading in Revelation 6. All right. So I'll get this here at the top and then we'll jump down. All right. Amos chapter 9, starting with verse 1. Yeah. Amos 9, I'll start with 1. I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, that the post may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them. And I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. Right? Judgment is coming. Though they dig into hell, hell being the grave, thence shall my hand take them. Right? So if you if you got that bunker, it don't matter. All right? Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. You can be in the ISS. You can be like Elon, try to go to Mars. It don't matter. You're coming down. All right? If the Lord is trying to judge you, you can't escape that judgment. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, right? Carmel being a mountain, they have their mountain bunkers. I will search and take them out thence, and though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, right? They can get in a submarine and go down there. Thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them, right? You'll get eaten by a Leviathan down there, all right? So I'm going to jump down. Verse 8, behold, the eyes of the Lord are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. Right? So he's going to judge the earth, but he will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob. So we read that in Revelation 7. All right? How 12,000 of each tribe, at the very least, is going to get delivered. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. Right? So he sees us all around the world. Nobody is going to be looked over, right? If you have proven yourself worthy of salvation, you will be saved. All right. But here's the flip side of that. Verse 10. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Right? So, you see that right there. So, on the one hand, you have Revelation 7 saying, yeah, the righteous that are sealed, who keep the commandments of God, they're going to come back to him. They will be spared. They will be delivered. But the sinners, the evil, the wicked, the cartels, they're going to be judged. They're going to be put to death, as it says here, die by the sword. All right. And you read Isaiah 66. That's how the Lord's going to plead with all flesh, with the sword. All right. He's going to judge the earth. And the slain of the Lord shall be many. So with all that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Hope y'all learned something. That situation down in Mexico, again, it's beyond repair at this point. Mexico down through Colombia. The cartels, it's a mess. They've been propped up for too long. They have too much power. There's nothing you can do about it other than some individuals down there can repent. I mean, that's literally the only thing. All the wickedness is just going to continue because, again, it's been propped up for too long. All right? They could try to take out the leaders, but other people are just going to step up. Unless you take out, because even if you take out the cocaine fields in Colombia, they're still making fentanyl. Right? They're still making meth. They do that synthetically. So they don't have to have fields for that. You know what I'm saying? They can just make that. All right. So yeah, there's no hope for this world. It is what it is. It's got to be judged. It has got to be judged. All right. Matthew 26, starting with 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for a memorial of her. So with that, all praises to the Most High that the sister did a wonderful thing for our Lord. All right. Y'all look out for that blood moon that is coming when the new moon comes next Monday night, going into Tuesday. It said Tuesday morning. I guess in Asia at that time it will be Tuesday evening. But again, I just want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, and we do so by His Holy Ghost. All right, so with all that being said, happy Sabbath. Let God be magnified, and shalom.